A great way to know when to cut a friend is when they only talk about your past. When you have the friends who are telling you, must be nice, or you think you're better than us, or, so we can't drink anymore. That's when you can be like,
the more I listen to this, the better my life gets. If they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want.
That was a message to my younger self. But I remember I got it in, well, I won't call it out. Let me see how I can say this the right way. You know what? I'll just say it. I'll whitewash the names. So I was with a family member, and we were all around the kitchen table. And it's during the holidays because I don't go home very much. And they kind of started attacking me. And they were like, I would never live your life. You're so unbalanced, like attacking. And I was like, what are you saying? And she said, I just would never do that. And I was like, all right, well, what part of my life is unbalanced? I was like, do you feel like my health is unbalanced? I was like, do you feel like my marriage is unbalanced? I was like, do you feel like my finances are unbalanced? I was like, what part of my life do you feel like is out of whack? She was like, I'm not as good with words as you are. And that was and I was like, okay, so the fact that you can't make a logical argument, I'm not going to continue how that conversation went. But the TLDR of that was I really thought a lot about it. And it came down to, I wouldn't live your life. And my response to that is, good, don't. It's not your life, it's mine. Live yours the way you want, and I wouldn't live your life either. And so what ends up happening is they become these statements, these projections that are not actually real. Now, on some level, maybe they were saying that because there was envy in that aspect of like wishing that was there, that they were living that life. But in this particular instance, I don't think it was. I think they genuinely were trying to help. It was a family member, and they thought that I was being misguided. But it was
this is an intervention. Let me hold the talking pillow, Alex. We've all come together because we care about you. We really feel like we need to have a conversation here.
It's exactly what it was, and I got so angry.
You?
No. So angry. No. And you can hear Layla like patting my back, like I'm like seething. You can feel the heat coming off of me as like I go upstairs. And I'm like, how dare she? Whatever. Yeah. But it really just came down to like her just saying, I don't want to live your life. And I think the answer to that question is good. Don't. And I think that has been one of the things that has diffused so many of these like hateful comments where people dehumanize you or whatever and make you into this ideal that they reject. It's like, you're right. One of the things that I had a mentor tell me to say is like, when you're in an argument, if somebody's like, it's like, you're a terrible person, blah, 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 blah. You just say, you're right. And then they have nothing to say. And then you just move on with your life. And so like, in that way, it's acceptance, but of like your idea of who I am that you hate so much, I accept it. I can live with that. Even that, but like, we don't want to think, what if I am I don't need to believe that, but I can do that and I can end the conversation.
So I'm taking improv classes at the moment because I'm doing my first live shows in the UK and Ireland.
Oh,
got this live tour.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything's
like this?
No, solo. Stood on stage for 90 minutes.
Comedy?
No, just lessons, insights and stuff. Probably some that I've learned today. Anyway, we released it and every show sold out and then got venue upgraded and then sold out again in less than 45 minutes across all of the dates, which was great, but then scary because I now had to speak to like 3 times as many people per night for additional nights on top of what I thought. Anyway, I'm doing improv. In improv, there is one rule, and the rule is don't punk the game. So we're doing some exercise where we need to make silly noises as we pass this imaginary energy around, and I need to go like boing and send it back, and you need to go whoosh and pass it on and all this sort of. The one thing that you're not allowed to do is not make one of the noises that's allowed.
Yeah.
And I really think about punking the game an awful lot, and you see it happen in podcasts, you see it happen on TV, you see it happen, and it can be both destructive and constructive, but it's always destructive to the people that are trying to play the game. And it can sometimes be constructive to the person who is punking it. So what you did is you punked the game there. We are playing a game of tennis. We are hitting the ball back and forth. Here I go. I hit the ball across the net, and where is it? Is it hit it back? Hit it back to me.
Yeah.
Like this is the game that we're playing, and you didn't move reciprocally back and forth. You went orthogonally. You went across on a different axis, and you're like, I'm not playing this anymore. This is a different game. I'm not bothered. There's not even words to describe what that means. Now, the way that it can be destructive is, especially if you're having, let's say, a meaningful conversation, sometimes people who are uncomfortable with getting into their emotions can use a variety of different things. They can be scathing, they can be mocking, they can laugh, because they don't want to sit with the discomfort of this particular part of the conversation. That's punking the game in a way that I think is destructive both externally and internally. That was one that was destructive externally. It broke the game, but it was constructive internally. And it is a way, refusing to play by the rules that somebody else has set in a game that you didn't agree to is the best prophylactic against stepping into a situation that you do not want. And it's one of the things that wealth affords, and it's one of the things that freedom affords, and freedom is often downstream from wealth. Remember George, one of my really good friends, been on the show like 5 times. George Mack, you'll follow him on Twitter. He's phenomenal. He was on Fox and Friends yesterday talking about his cocaine phone and his kale phone. Like, what world is this? Yeah. I remember before the first time that I moved away to work, I've traveled a lot, but it was always in between work. I never traveled to work. COVID happens. World gets shut down. Just after Halloween, Boris tells all of the UK, we're going back into lockdown in 3 days' time and all flights are cancelled. So I messaged George and I was like, I'm not doing this. Let's go somewhere. He wanted to go to, I can't even remember, some island that has 300,000 people on it. And I was like, why don't we do Dubai? It's a 5-hour flight. The weather's great. I know people. It'll be fun. It's not got 300,000 people on it. There's Uber. And I'll never forget what he replied to me with. I got up and I paid £350 for my COVID fit to fly test before he was awake, but he'd sent me a message the night before, and this is what compelled me to do it. He said, what's the point in having you freedom if you never say you? And I was like, I was so fired up reading that message, and I was like, yeah, why have I put all of this work in? Why have I done all of these things if I don't ever punk a game that I didn't agree to be a part of?
I think this is really big if we go all the way back to the earlier part of this podcast, when you have the friends who are telling you, must be nice, or you think you're better than us, or, so we can't drink anymore. That's when you can be like, yeah. Then what? Well, then we wouldn't be friends. You're not going to be friends with them eventually anyways, I promise you. Anyone who says that, you're not going to be friends with. If you want to ultimately become the person you want to become, they're only going to reject you harder and harder until eventually you have nothing to share about. And the only thing that you'll talk about is the past, which, by the way, one of the great leading indicators of, at least in my opinion, of a great way to know when to cut a friend is when they only talk about your past. And so punking the game, and it's one of those really uncomfortable things the first time you do it, but then you get more and more comfortable with it because they're like, I would never live your life. And you're like, I know.
This relates to another one of yours. Don't trade your self-respect for someone else's. It's easy to lose theirs and hard to get yours back.
Yeah. But I would know.